let's talk narcissists. Let's talk about the 5 ways to command respect from a narcissist. And I'm going to work backwards from number 5 all the way up to number 1. How can you command respect from a narcissist? A lot of people think narcissists don't respect anybody, right? That's not true. They do respect some people. The number 5 thing that they respect is confidence and people who are self-assured. I say all the time, they don't attach themselves to you initially because you have so little value. They actually attach themselves to you because you have so much value. They like to see people who are super confident and who are super assured. And then once they do attach themselves to you, it actually gives them a feeling of more power to devalue and break down somebody who is confident, who is self assured, because that makes them feel more powerful, by the way. The more confident you are, the more self assured you are, the more they do respect you. So if you are that way, they will respect you more. They will command a sense of respect from them. And I do have a whole video called This is the Only Way to Get Respect from a Narcissist. And I do talk more specifically and more pointedly on some of this. And you might want to check out that video as well. So number 4 is keep emotionally distanced from them. Now, this is more difficult if you're already in a relationship with them. This is where you're going to want to start to emotionally distance from them. If you're already in a romantic relationship with them, if you're already in a business relationship with them, if you're already emotionally close to them, this is where you're going to start to decondition yourself. I don't know if that's even a word, but you're going to start to kind of pull back. You're going to start to put those boundaries in place. You're going to start to move in a different direction, or even just stop the conditioning. I kind of, in my mind, start thinking of it as righting the ship, moving it in a different direction, kind of turning it around so that you're not constantly on the defensive all the time. You're going to start to be on the offensive. You're going to start to show them that, hey, there's a new game in town, that this is not how it's going to go anymore, that you are taking control of yourself and your life, and that you're no longer allowing them to have this power over you. And so you're going to start to be emotionally distanced from them. Your soul is no longer going to allow it anymore. And it starts kind of with these little whispers. Your soul starts to say, excuse me, no, this is not okay. And you start to sort of start to feel it, your gut is telling you this is not working for you. If you want more help on how to keep your cool against narcissists, I do have a whole video on how to keep your cool against narcissists, and it will definitely help you. So make sure you check that out. And I do have a whole playlist on self-care when it comes to narcissists. Definitely check that out as well, because you do need to take care of yourself if you are in a relationship with a narcissist as well. So check out that whole playlist as well. And you can stay in control. Just start with mantras. Put in the comments right now, I'm in control. I'm in control. Because you are in control. Just start to believe it. Start to have that mindset that you are in control, because you are. They don't have power over your soul. They don't. No one can help you if you don't believe that you can be helped. Just know that for sure. Okay. So that was number 4. Now we're going to move on to number 3. Number 3 way to command respect from a narcissist is to maintain your independence. So important. Now, if you are already in a relationship with them, again, starting to put those boundaries in place, starting to look for ways to start to create your independence. If you are not already in a relationship with a narcissist, or you're starting to get into a relationship with a narcissist, this is when you're going to go, I'm keeping my independence financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every way that you possibly can. But if you are in a relationship with one already, this is where you're going to start to look for ways to start to have your independence, even if it's just, I'm going for a walk today. I'm going to go take a yoga class today. I'm going to go do something just for me today, whatever it is. I'm going to read a book on my own, start a gratitude journal, start doing some things for yourself, start having some self-care for yourself, whatever it is that you need to do to start having that stuff for yourself. Okay. So that's number 3, maintaining your independence. I love the concept of the July 4th thing, that Declaration of Independence. You can kind of declare your own independence, even if it's just in your own mind, where you're just saying to yourself, you know what, I'm declaring my independence for myself. And what does that mean to you? And, when I have people do my SLAY program, which stands for strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focusing on you, one of the very first parts of strategy is creating your vision. And so many times with people, it's like having this vision of what it is that they really actually want is so foreign for them, because they've spent so much time, and maybe this is you, just defending yourself against narcissists. It's so many years. It's just defend, defend, defend. You just feel like you've been a turtle on your back. You've spent so much time sort of finger pointing and going, they're doing this and they're doing that, and oh my god, and you're just like, you've been assailed so many years by this person that you almost forget. It's almost foreign to you to go, wait a minute, what is it that I want? What is my vision for myself? What is my perfect life? Or you almost feel guilty asking for it, or almost feels strange to ask for it or think about what it is that you want. But if you don't think about what it is that you want, you are certainly not going to get there. You have to almost think of it as a GPS, like, where is it that I want to go? What is it that I actually want? Your GPS can't take you where you want to go if you don't program it. The GPS in your car, it doesn't know where you're going if you don't put the destination in. And it's the same thing with your vision. So, maintain your independence, figure out what it is that you want, and then program it. Okay. That's number 3. Number two is set those strict boundaries. Actually do it. Create boundaries, set them. It's almost like set it and forget it, right? Create them, set them. That's the next way to really, really command respect from a narcissist. I know it's scary. This can be really, really scary if you are in a relationship with a narcissist. They will have a tantrum because they don't want you to set those boundaries. But it's sort of like a 2-year-old having a tantrum on a floor. When they have these parents who've been indulgent or whatever, because they think that all they have to do is scream louder, scream longer, and the parents are going to eventually give in. And that's what happens with narcissists. They're essentially toddlers in adult bodies. They think that they have you conditioned to a certain extent, and that you will give in eventually if they just have enough of a tantrum and act a certain way. It's sort of like terrorist tactics, right? And so they want you to be afraid of whatever that backlash is. But honestly, the truth of the matter is that if you set those strict boundaries and you stick with them, that they will eventually give in. Okay. Which brings me to number one, the most important one, the one that really, really will command the most respect from a narcissist. And that is show them that you are not afraid of them. The narcissist is way more afraid of you than you are of them. I promise you that. And they are getting supply from jerking you around, manipulating you, and all of that. They love to see you squirm. They love to trigger you. They're getting supply from that. They get off on that. They get a high from that. They enjoy it. They love the whole thing of it. And the fact that they're able to do all of that means that they're getting somewhere with it. And if they can see that they're no longer getting supply from it, if you can cut off that supply source and they get nothing more from it, then they will no longer want to be there. That's how they really, really will move on down the road. And that's how you will command the most respect from that narcissist. And if you really want to command respect from them, if you really want to cut off that supply source, then show them that you're not afraid of them. Show them that nothing that they're doing is bothering you. If you combine all five of these things, keep confident and self assured, be emotionally distant, maintain your independence, set these strict boundaries, and show them that you're not afraid, there's no supply there. There's no supply source for them. If there's no supply source to be had, then there's nothing there for them to take. I would say ease on down the road, slither down the road and find another supply source. They're really like vultures, they need to have something there to feed off of. And if there's nothing there to feed off of, if there's no fuel, there's no food source, they've got to be feeding that black hole all the time. And if there's nothing there to feed from, then they'll have to move down the road and find it from somewhere else. So those are the 5 ways to command respect from a narcissist. Hey there, I'm Rebecca Zung, and I'm an attorney, and I help people negotiate with narcissists. And if you want a narcissist respect, I'm going to give you 8 ways to get it. But there are things that you've got to stop doing if you want a narcissist respect. Number 1, you've got to stop doing things for them that they can easily do for themselves. You've got to stop enabling them. I know that it's hard because, especially with the fear factor, if you're dealing with a narcissist, they expect things. You've been conditioned by them. If you've been in a longer term relationship with them, they have been getting a certain amount of what we call narcissistic supply from you, and they expect you to do things for them. I mean, you're kind of like sometimes like their janitor in a lot of ways. They expect you to be a certain person for them in this relationship. And even if you resent it, even if you don't want to do certain things for them, they kind of have set things up in a certain way. You kind of have to do certain things for them as you think. But if you enable that behavior, then they no longer respect you. You've got to stop doing things for them that they can easily do for themselves. What happens with narcissists a lot of times is that everything is kind of optional for them, and you don't get that. You don't get everything is optional for you, but everything is kind of optional for them. You've got to stop that if you want them to respect you. And they respect people that they have to, kind of work for. You've got to stop doing things for them that they can easily do for themselves. Let them know, no, I'm not doing that anymore. You have to do that. You have the ability. So stop enabling them. So that's number one. And I'm going to give you 7 more. And as we work up, it's going to get even harder and harder. You're kind of like dealing with a toddler. You know how with toddlers, they have tantrums, and with toddlers, they have to feel like they have to scream louder, scream longer, and feel they're kind of like giving the parents sort of the side eye as they're screaming, going, are they watching? Are they watching? Because if they're watching, they're seeing if they're going to get that thing that they want as they have the tantrum. Maybe I just need to kick my legs this time. Maybe I just need to throw things this time, a little bit more of a tantrum. That's what's happening. But if they don't get what they want, then they actually start to respect the parents. That's what you're doing. Okay. Stop doing things for them that they can easily do for themselves. That's number one. Number two is you've got to stop seeking validation from them. Stop putting yourself down. Stop going, oh yeah, I'm not very good at that. I know I'm not really all that smart, or stop caring what they think of you. Stop looking for their opinion on things. Just go, you know what? I can do things on my own. I don't need your validation. I don't need you to believe in me. I don't need you to think that what I'm doing is a good idea. I don't need you to think that I'm smart or I'm attractive or that I am good at what I do. A lot of times I've seen women especially want to start a business or start something new or, whatever it is. And, whoever it is that's their significant other will say, oh, that's a stupid idea, or you're not very good at that. And, in fact, I actually was just having a conversation with somebody recently who just said to me that, she had been an actress or something like that. And her significant other said, you're not a very good actress. But, here's something that's interesting. She ended up becoming a writer instead because this person said to her, you're not a very good actress. So she ended up doing writing, and she ended up winning all sorts of awards because this person said that she wasn't a good actress, and she ended up becoming an amazing writer and winning all these awards. But you know what? She kind of got the better of him. But she really needed to just not listen to the guy anyway, because here's the thing. People only treat people the way they feel about themselves, and narcissists don't like themselves, and that's why they treat people poorly. If somebody feels good about themselves, then they treat people well. If somebody feels poorly about themselves, then they treat people poorly, so you can't take it personally. So stop seeking validation from them. Stop putting yourself down. Stop caring what narcissists think about you. They actually respect people who don't care what they think about them. Okay. So if you want the narcissist respect, stop thinking what they care about you. By the way, if you're trying to negotiate with a narcissist, they're not going to want to negotiate or communicate or whatever with somebody who's like constantly putting themselves down. They're going to want to try to negotiate with somebody that they respect. So the more you start laying this foundation now, better it's going to be for you as you go through this process. And by the way, I do have a free negotiation worksheet for you at crushmydeal.com, which you should definitely get. So it's a free 15-page ebook, and it will definitely help you. And I upload brand new videos here on this channel every single day. And you should definitely subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell if you haven't done that already too. All right. So the other thing that you should do, the next thing, the third thing, and we've got 8 things here for you, is stop trying to be someone that you're not. One of the things that scares a narcissist more than anything is authenticity, because they are so fake all the time that you being an authentic person is, something that really throws them off. They don't know how to deal with that. They don't know how to deal with authenticity, genuineness, you being who you are, you standing up for yourself, you respecting yourself, you loving yourself. Those are all qualities that they don't have. And, they feel empty inside. So you being who you are, standing in your power, is something that they will totally respect. So stop trying to be someone that you're not. Number 4, stop making excuses for their bad behavior. Just stop doing that, because you are actually ignoring their red flags. Then you're actually defending their red flags when you do that. So stop making excuses for their bad behavior. Stop defending them to others. When you say things to other people like they had a bad childhood, they had a stressful week, they've had a stressful year, they are just making fun of me because that's, a joke that we have between each other. It's okay if they put me down, because that's our joke. That's not okay. Stop making excuses for their bad behavior, because that doesn't make them respect you. That allows them a pass for their disrespectful behavior. Number 5, stop trying to control them. Leave them be. They're never going to be controlled. So you need to stop trying to control them. You need to control yourself. You need to leave them on their path. Don't allow them to control you, but you also need to stop trying to control them. You need to be in your path, in your world, and be independent, because that will allow you the freedom to start shifting that dynamic, right? Step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. That's what I say all the time, right? If you're going to start pivoting, you're going to start shifting that dynamic. You want to start being on the offensive. You want to start to slay, which is my slay methodology: strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focus on you. Then that's what you have to do. All right. All right. Number 6, stop letting them manipulate you emotionally, which is stop taking that bait. Stop taking everything they say or do personally. As I said, people who hurt people who are hurt people. So when you say things like they make me feel bad, you are making yourself out to be a victim, because you are in that space of allowing them that power to say they get to dictate how I feel, and don't give them that power. Okay. Number 7, stop giving them your time and your energy if they're not worth it, because they're not. Don't try to change them. Don't say that, you can love them back to health, or you can, you don't need so much love. I've actually heard people say that, I didn't get that much love as a child, so I don't need that much anyway. And I have all the love to give, and I will be able to give them everything. You are going to just end up depleted. What happens with narcissists is they have this black hole inside of them. It can never be filled. They're like starving, gasping for breath, desperate for air. It's scarcity mentality to the extreme. And they're in survival mode all the time. And they have this black hole that can never be filled, and they want you to fill it. And while you might want to fill it too, it can never be filled. And so you're left feeling totally and utterly depleted, yet they're still starving. And so you're just exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And they're just like energy vampires, it's soul vampires, and it's not worth it. You'll never, ever, ever be able to satisfy that, and you'll never, ever, ever have your needs met. Ever. And you're so much worth so much more than that. And your soul knows it too. And it's in there screaming to get out. So number 8 is, if you really want a narcissist respect, this is going to be the hardest thing to do, but it's the most important. This is the most important step. You've got to walk away and never look back. So I want you to put in the comments right now, just walk away. Just walk away. I want you to start feeling your power when it comes to narcissists, because the one thing that they don't want you to have is power. They don't want you to feel respected. They don't want you to feel like you are confident. And so that's what I want you to have. They feel like they've got dominion over you. I feel like it's that spider versus fly thing. They catch you in that web, they start sucking all the life out of you, and you just feel drained. You feel stuck there. How do you make a narcissist respect you? How does that happen? Well, there are a number of different ways, and I'm going to give you 10. You're going to want to watch all the way till the end here, because I'm going to give you 10, and I'm going to save the best one for the end, of course. So the first one is that you got to stay a little bit distant from them. You can't be so close that they know your weaknesses. This is for people who haven't quite gotten into relationship with them yet. These are for people who are just kind of reading the room with narcissists. You've kind of started to figure out, wait a minute, there's something going on here. Maybe you've watched my other videos on love bombing, my other videos on, the early relationship warnings of a narcissist, and you're starting to see the red flags. When you see this is narcissism guaranteed. That's another one of my videos. And you're going, wait a minute. No, stay the distance. Stay a little bit aloof from them, because they want to grasp you. They like that chase. If they can't quite grasp you, then they respect that a little bit, right? They want that. They want the shiny thing. Remember, narcissists don't attach themselves to you because you have so little value. They attach themselves to you because you have so much. So if you stay a little bit distant from them, they think, wait a minute, this is something I can't have. So you can't be so close to them that they know your weaknesses, because then they use them against you. So that's number 1. Number 2 is stay independent from them. If you're not financially dependent on them, you're not emotionally dependent on them, then they respect that from you. If you become dependent on them, if you become needy, then that's when they can start ghosting you. That's when they can start giving you that silent treatment. Remember, it's in that love bombing phase, that grooming phase, that conditioning phase. That's when they start to get you to need them. They start to get you to want them. You start depending on that dopamine hit. And that's when they can turn around and start saying, no, I don't want you. No. And that's when you start going, no, I do. And you become dependent on them, whether it's emotionally or financially. And that's when they have that power over you, that control, that dominion. So if you stay independent from it, then they don't have that, and they respect you for that. Number 3 is you continue to have something of value that they want, whether it's prestige. They attached themselves to you because of that supply source, that IV that they wanted to attach themselves to, or the optics of hanging out with you, that power source, that money source, the influence source, whatever it was. So if you still have that, then, or maybe it's your looks. Remember, they are all about how they look to the world, right? So there's that too, that diamond level source of supply. The next reason why they will continue to respect you is if you're in a position of power over them. They could be a narcissist. They could be the most flaming narcissist on the whole planet, but let's say you're the judge in a case Well, okay, they're going to have to respect you. Or maybe you're their boss, or maybe you're the CEO of the company, or something like that. Then they're going to continue to respect you. Or it could be that you're the leader of the group that they all hang out in. They're going to respect you for that. Maybe you have more money than anybody else in the group. They'll probably respect you more for that. If you have more power, you have more dominion over everybody else, you've got some kind of gravitas that makes them look up to you for some reason, then they'll respect you for that. Okay, so the next reason that they will continue to respect you is that let them believe that you're not on to them yet. Once they think that you're on to them and they know that you're on to them as being a narcissist, then that mask whips off. You become public enemy number one, and they see things in black and white. So if you're not for them, then you're against them. And, all hell can break loose at that point. And if that's where you're at, then you might want to go ahead and grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at this point, which you can get at winmynegotiation.com. It's a free 15-page ebook, which has helped literally thousands of people win their negotiations. Highly recommend that you go grab that right now. Go get it. It will help you definitely win your negotiation. All right. So that is number 5. Number 6 is to show them that you are of high value, whatever it is, in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's because you're continue to give them money, sex, prestige, whatever it is, continue to show them that you are of high value. If they feel like they're going to be lesser in some way without you being around, then they will continue to respect you. So that is number 6. Number 7 is being friends with people that they want to be friends with. So they will respect you because, remember, everything is transactional for them. Everything is surface for them. So transactional surface. So diamond level supply for coal level supply. Those are my words. Diamond levels, how they look to the world. Everything has to feed their black hole inside. That coal level supply is devaluing you, controlling you, manipulating you. So it's got to feed one beast or the other. Number 8, making them look good. Or feel good. So you're fluffing up their ego. If you're constantly fluffing up their ego, especially in front of other people, then they want to keep you around. But you got to make it believable. If I were you, I would only do this to ethically manipulate that manipulator. So I call it fluff or favor, vomit later. Hey, can you do X, Y, and Z? You're so much better at it than I am. And it'll be done so much more fast or more efficient than if I did it, whatever that is. But you're fluffing up their ego like you're fluffing up a pillow. So if you can do that, then that'll make them respect you. But I wouldn't do it all the time, because if you're constantly pandering to them, then they won't respect you. Okay. It's got to be believable, and it's got to be done in a certain way. Because remember, you've got to set boundaries early on. You've got to keep your distance. And you have to have respect for yourself. And always remember, and this is number 9, have respect for yourself, and always remember to remain calm and non-emotional. Because if you get emotionally invested, if you start getting down and dirty and into it with them, and you start taking their baits, then they won't respect you anymore. So that's number 9. Number 10, which I told you was one of the most important ones. This is kryptonite when it comes to narcissists. This is like the absolute thing. When I'm talking about slay, strategy, leverage, anticipating, and focus on you, this is why. This is the you. This is absolutely the most important thing. Be authoritative, be confident, be self-assured. If you stand in your power, if you know who you are from the inside out, nobody can touch you because you stand in your power. You are authoritative. You are confident. You know who you are. Here are 10 phrases that stop narcissists. All right. Number one is I agree with you. I agree with you. This is one of my favorite ones. This is one of my favorite ones because it will actually tell you how to, basically shut down a narcissist and stop that narcissist in a way that's basically, I know you're saying, I agree with you. And you're like, what? Hear me out on this. What the rest of your sentence is going to be, I agree with you that we can agree. I agree with you that that's what you think. You just have to be careful that you're not going to say, I agree with you that obviously that I'm a deadbeat mom or whatever. But you can say, I agree that that's your opinion. I agree that that's what you think. You're basically agreeing with nothing. They hear, I agree. And it just stops them because what else are they going to say at that point? Our empathic nature is to want to feel things. We want to give vulnerably. We want to be in conversation. We want to have resolutions to things. You're not getting that. So that's the first thing that you need to understand here. You're not going to get a narcissist to acknowledge you. You're not going to get closure. You're not going to get them to see your side. But what you can do is start to have boundaries. What you can do is start to have protection of you, protection of your feelings, protection of the toxicity. And that's what you need to start doing. One of the things I say is step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So that first step of don't run, that's where you're creating those boundaries. That's where you're starting to say, I need to put up some walls here. I need to start having some place here where I'm not having all this toxicity in my space anymore. Okay. So I agree with you that that's what you think, but you're having a boundary there. And also if you go to disarmthenarc.com, you can there's some of these, but there's also more free phrases for disarming narcissists that will help you so much. So just go to disarmthenarc.com and you'll get free phrases for disarming narcissists. My gift to you. I'm not going to argue with you. That's number 2. I'm not going to argue with you. And if you just say that, I'm not going to argue with you, what can they do? I'm not going to argue with you. In other words, if somebody's pushing on you and you're not pushing back, you just take it away. It just falls away. I'm not going to argue with you. They're looking for that supply. They're trying to bait you. They want that. They need that. That's their food. It's their lifeblood. It's their oxygen. And if you're not giving it to them, then there's nothing they can do, right? I'm not going to argue with you. That's number 2. Number 3 is I can see that you're upset. You're starting to take yourself out of the equation and starting to look at it as if you are a third party. That helps you so much. I just recently heard it referred to as go to the balcony or something like that. You're taking yourself out of it. You're like getting a breath of fresh air. You're breathing. You're going outside. You're taking a look at it. You're surveying. You're looking down at the lawn. I can see that you're upset. You're just looking at them. It's like looking at a 2-year-old that's having a tantrum on the floor. Okay. I can see that you're upset. Just observing them. Number 4 is I hear you. A lot of times they just want to be heard. They just want to be seen, heard, and understood, just like all of us do, but narcissists like so much more so than others. Okay. So I hear you and it just stops them. Number 5 is just say, thanks for the feedback, trying to bait you into saying something. I saw that you did this and you can't be doing that. And you're this type of a person. Just, oh, okay. Thanks for the feedback. Like if you go, what? I'm what? That like feeds it. You don't defend yourself when it comes to narcissists. It just gives them credence. It just feeds it. Even when they file motions in the court, it's not evidence. Number 6 is that's an interesting perspective. It's again, like, thanks for the feedback. It just stops them because there's nowhere else to go with that. Number 7 is once you've created boundaries, then you can say, I'm going to have to ask you to respect my boundaries. It gets you a little bit more You're pushing back a little bit more. It may feel unfamiliar. It's unfamiliar to them too, but it's good for you. It's good to stand up. Number 8, your approach is not working for me. Oh, I love that one. I love using it, and I love hearing it when people have used it. This approach is not working for me. I've used it myself when I've been practicing law. This is not working for me, this approach, especially if somebody's extremely aggressive. I've used it in negotiations. Number 9 is just say, okay. Especially if they say something that they think is going to be extremely inflammatory. I want a divorce, or I want just say, oh, okay. And then what are they going to do? I'm cutting you off financially. Okay. When they throw out these threats or whatever, and you just say, okay, there's nothing else more than they can say. There's no more threat there. There's no more leverage. And by the way, which ones are you liking, guys, so far? I want to know in the comments. Let me know which one is your favorite so far. And if these are sounding good, I want you to say that too. Say sounds good in the comments. And number 10 is, if we're going to continue to communicate, I'm going to have to ask you to speak to me in a way that's respectful. You're going to have to be respectful. Be respectful. Nobody can argue with that. And if they do, then you can get up and walk away. Nobody has the right to speak to you in a way that's disrespectful. I always say, what's negotiable? Contracts, issues, terms. What's not negotiable? Your self-respect, your self-esteem, who you are. 10 power-packed phrases that can instantly unmask that covert narcissist. All right. So let's dive in, shall we? By the way, I've got a brand new book, Slay the Bully: How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, which you should go straight to slaythebully.com and you should grab it right now, because if you do, you get early access to the entire manuscript. You get a masterclass. You get all sorts of really, really super cool things. So make sure you do that right now. All right. So number 1 is, I'm not having this discussion with you. I'm telling you how it is, because you know what? They bank on the fact that you're not going to snuff them out. They bank on the fact that you're not going to go direct with them. It stops them in their tracks. So if you say directly to them, I'm not having this discussion with you, I'm telling you how it is, then it establishes your assertiveness with them. And it lets the narcissist know that you won't be manipulated, and it sets this clear boundary with them. And you don't need to say it in an angry way. You don't need to say it in a way that has any tone. You don't even need to say it. You can just say it even sort of robotically. You can just make it clear that there's a new game in town, that this new game in town doesn't tolerate their attempts to control conversation. You can just say, I'm not having this discussion with you. I'm telling you how it is. Just like that. And you can just look at them like that. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, I don't get what you're trying to say or do here. You just kind of play dumb. I don't understand what you're trying to do. I'm not sure. You act confused. And when you subtly sort of challenge the narcissist's attempts to confuse or gaslight you, it puts the focus back on their behavior to demand clarity. Instead of anger, you sort of are bewildered. I'm not sure. Can you provide clarity for me? I'm just trying to understand what it is you're trying to say. Can you give me some more clarity on that, please? When you approach it with some bewilderment or like confusion instead of anger, it sort of disarms them. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, this isn't the way to talk to me or anyone else for that matter. So you are establishing that you are not going to be disrespected. And let me tell you, I always sort of give a formula for shifting the dynamic of power with narcissists. And I say that you need to think about it in terms of baby steps, because oftentimes you've been conditioned for a long time, whether it's a professional relationship or a personal relationship. A lot of times you don't feel like you can shift that dynamic of power all at once, because it feels overwhelming to do it all at once. So I say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So step 1 is just creating those boundaries. When you first start creating those boundaries, that first boundary doesn't have to be a physical boundary. It doesn't have to be moving out of the house or getting out of a partnership. That first boundary can really just be, this isn't the way to talk to me or anyone else for that matter. You don't even have to add the or anyone else for that matter. You can just say, this isn't the way to talk to me. So by addressing their communication style and the fact that you find it disrespectful, you're reminding the covert narcissist that their behavior is not acceptable. And it also emphasizes, if you want to say, or anyone else for that matter, the importance of treating you with respect and others with respect. But if you don't even care about others at that moment, you can just say, don't treat me disrespectful. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is, if you're going to talk about me to anyone else, it should be in a respectful manner. And, I have a friend who's also my business coach. She's been my business coach for a very long time. And she would always say, don't leave me less in other people's listening. So when people are hearing about me, don't leave me less. They're thinking less of me when you walk away. So, this phrase draws attention to the narcissist's tendency to, try to line up flying monkeys, gossip about you, have their army of people so that you feel isolated, where they're speaking ill of you. And it encourages them to consider their words and reminds them of that importance of speaking of respect. But really, more importantly, you're calling them out. You're demasking them. You're saying, I see you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're up to. You're not fooling me. I see what you're up to. It's almost like you're shining the light. It's like that when you pull the rock off the bugs and they all go scurrying. What are you doing? Right? So it's not just the fact that you're demanding this. It's also the fact that you're shining the light on it and you're like shaming them about it. The next one is number 5, which is, your behavior and words have consequences, which can be felt by others. Here you're highlighting the impact of their actions, which again sheds light on their lack of empathy. And it reminds them that their behavior not only affects themselves, but those around them. They may not care about you. They may not even care about anyone else, but maybe they'll be worried about how it's going to show up for themselves. And in that moment, they may be so proud that they'll be like, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. But even if they say that in that moment, they may be worried. You can still say it, because regardless of how they react in that moment, it still may worry them. Number 6 is, it's not okay to only think of yourself and disregard everyone else's feelings. Again, you are standing up for yourself and you are letting them know that you see what they're doing. You see that they're only thinking of themselves. And especially for a covert narcissist, they want to be seen as the humanitarians. They want to be seen as the one who thinks of everyone else. And so if you are calling them out as someone who doesn't think of everyone else, they'll be like, oh, feigning this hurt. Like, I take care of everyone. Are you kidding me? They'll be extremely hurt by that, right? So that will kick them right in the gut. And it highlights the need for empathy and consideration towards others and exposing their lack thereof. And by the way, I have phrases for disarming narcissists that you can get for free at disarmthenarc.com, which I definitely highly recommend that you do. And if you need self-care, I have a whole video on self-care for coping with narcissists, and definitely check out that video as well. The next one is, if you want something from me, tell me so plainly instead of implying it and being passive aggressive. Again, they're going to be like, I'm being passive aggressive. What? Me? Are you kidding? They don't want to be seen as anything other than good and wonderful, even though they are very, very passive aggressive. By actually calling out their passive aggressive tendencies and tactics, you force them to be more direct and transparent, because they want to have sort of these clean hands all the time. They don't want to be seen as this manipulative person that they are. And it promotes their open and honest dialogue. And by the way, I have a whole video called Decoding the Top 7 Catchphrases of Narcissists, which is another great video for you to check out. So the next one is number 8, which is, what you're doing right now isn't helping us and isn't helping the relationship. So, it just sort of like brings it all back so that you can remind everyone, where are we going with this? Don't we want to get to a place where we're actually getting somewhere with this whole thing, right? Aren't we trying to resolve a conflict here? By pointing out that their behavior is detrimental to the relationship, you highlight the negative impact of their actions. And it encourages the narcissist to reflect on their behavior and their consequences. Whether they actually do or not, probably not, but at least for that moment, they get like shamed, and they're open. You open that and you unmask them for that moment. The next one is, I know who I am and what I need in a relationship, and this is not it. The more you become authentic about who you are, how strong you are, and what you want in a relationship, the more difficult it's going to be for that covert narcissist to be existing in that, because that is a narcissist kryptonite. A strong, resilient, authentic human being is not a person who a narcissist can coexist with. A narcissist, by definition, needs a person who's going to be insecure, needs a person who can be manipulated, needs a person who wants to cling to them. And this statement, I know who I am and what I need in a relationship, asserts your self-worth, asserts your boundaries. It emphasizes you're not settling for a relationship tainted with narcissistic tendencies. It empowers you to protect yourself. So powerful. If you agree that this is so powerful, I want you to put that in the comments below right now. So powerful. The next one is, this conversation is over until we can speak respectfully without manipulation or blame shifting. By setting a firm boundary, you establish that you will not engage in unhealthy conversations. This phrase demands that you demand mutual respect and honesty while exposing that covert narc's manipulation tactics. So good. Conversation's over until we can speak respectfully without manipulation and without blame shifting. And by the way, if you need additional support, please join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, because get the help and support that you need. And if you need therapy, betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. Again, get the help and support that you need. We receive commissions. It doesn't cost you any extra. There you have it, folks. Those are the 10 power-packed phrases that will help you when dealing with and confronting a covert narcissist. How do you garner instant respect from anyone, especially high conflict people, difficult people, people who you feel like make your life miserable? whether it's in a professional setting or a personal setting. I know, I've been there. Believe me, in recent times, I had a narcissistic business partner, made my life miserable. So, how do you turn things around? What phrases can you use when you feel like they're making things difficult for you, right? How can you be assertive when you feel like you just want to keep the peace? You're going along to get along. It's time to change that. So, we're going to explore some power phrases that'll help you garner instant respect and empower you to stay true to yourself. So, let's say you want to set some boundaries. I mean, you want to disengage from this kind of conversation. And it's important to focus on your own well being and maintain a healthy environment. The first thing I want you to do when you are feeling like maybe somebody is taking advantage of you, maybe it's in a workplace situation, you're feeling like maybe someone is taking credit for your hard work. So the first one is where you can say, I deserve credit for my contributions. I don't want this other person to take advantage of my hard work. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just you being assertive. So, and the second power phrase focuses on you being assertive. And it's time to stop suppressing your feelings. It's time to start acknowledging your own needs and emotions. You can really say, especially when somebody's trying to manipulate you, they're trying to guilt trip you, they're trying to use passive aggression. So, you can say, I understand your feelings, but I need to prioritize my own well being too. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you don't need to apologize for that. That phrase honors both their emotions and your boundaries. It's about you claiming your own self worth and not allowing anyone else to diminish that. You need to protect your own self worth and your own health and your own well being. Because what happens is when you start to have those leaky boundaries, and you just go along to get along and you keep your mouth shut, you start to fester. You start to have resentments. It actually starts to eat away at your health. It actually starts to eat away at your mental health, your physical health. You think that maybe it's going to get better. Maybe they'll see how hard you're working. Maybe they'll see the goodness that you're pouring into them, but they don't. They just take all of that stuff that you're doing for them. They just take, and you end up feeling sucked dry. It never ends up being equitable. It never ends up being fair. They don't ever acknowledge all of the good things that you do for them. You think that at some point they're going to, but it just doesn't end up happening that way. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to end up the way that you think it's going to. Right now is the time that you need to make that decision. Right now is the time that you need to say, it's time to fish or cut bait. They're not going to change. You're the one that has to change. You're the one that has to make that decision. The only person that you can control is you. And if you're going to sit around and wait for them to acknowledge you, see your side, turn around, and make a difference for you, it's not going to happen. Focus on you, your self-care. And if you know what I'm saying, put an amen in the comments right now. Put amen in the comments right now. And join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, because that's where you need to be, with people who are going to support you. All right. And if you need phrases for disarming narcissists, go to disarmthenarc.com, because that's where you need to be, helping you help yourself. This is about protecting your own emotional well-being. And the next one is where you can say, this is what I've learned about myself, in these situations. You can actually say that this is what I've learned about myself in these situations. It's always okay to assert yourself. It's always okay. I always say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. You are completely course correcting. You are taking these baby steps to reclaim your power. That's what you're doing. This is about you empowering yourself, taking back your independence, and taking back your autonomy, your agency. This works in your family. When somebody else tries to control your decisions, you can confidently state that you are asserting your right to make decisions that are best for you. And that is always okay. Use these power phrases in these real life scenarios that it's going to help you. Use them when people at work are trying to take credit for your work, in a personal relationship, when somebody's trying to manipulate you or guilt trip you or employ power over you. A social situation, when somebody's trying to use condescending remarks. There's one more that I want to give you, and that is, thank you for sharing your concerns, but I believe that it would be more productive to direct our energy to finding solutions. Thanks for sharing your concerns, but let's focus on the problem. Even if they're being personal, you can just say, well, you know what? Thanks for the feedback, but let's focus on the problem at hand. Whatever it is that they say, don't take it personally. Don't allow yourself to be emotionally triggered, because that's what they want. They want to get under your skin. They're looking for that narcissistic supply. Don't forget that. So don't give it to them. Another one that's similar is something like, I understand your point, but I see it differently. Here's why. A bonus phrase for you. Like, just keep it away from you. Observe, don't absorb. Don't take it personally. Don't allow yourself to take it personally, because that's what they want. They're baiting you. And by the way, you can always allow yourself a moment to go process. You can even say, I need a moment to process this before I respond. Thanks for joining me. You have the power to step away. You have the power to transform high conflict situations into opportunities for growth and assertiveness. 7 narcissist responses when you want to discuss something important. So number 1 is, this isn't a good time. This isn't a good time, or something like that. This isn't a good time. Why are you bringing that up now? Basically they want to change that subject. They want to pivot. They want to get away from it. They want to deflect, because, let's just say you say something like, I found a text message, or something suspicious is going on, or I figured out that you're lying about something, or why didn't you do this thing that you said you're going to do, whatever it is, or I'm feeling like I want to talk about my feelings, or whatever it is that they're not comfortable with. This is going to be, why are you bringing that up now? Whatever it is. Then when you start to say, you start to take that bait, you start to go down that path. They went fishing and you took the bait. Well, why isn't it a good time? When would be a good time? I'm bringing it up now because, we both work during the day and we just are now home and we just had dinner, and this would be the only time that I would have to talk to you about it. Well, I am tired now and I can't talk to you now. That's when they start to say other things, and so it's just constantly, deflecting. So that's number 1. Number 2 is they just play dumb. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. You'll ask them about the same text message, or, let's just say I saw something on your phone that looked suspicious, or an email or something, or I saw a paper laying out and I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense to me, whatever. They just play completely dumb. And of course, that's a form of gaslighting. It's supposed to make you think that you're crazy, because of course, whatever it is that you're asking them about of course, it looks suspicious. I mean, it might be like, miss you with heart emojis or something like that. And they'll act like I don't even know what you're talking about. So that's number 2. Number 3 is you're just delusional. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're seeing. You're blowing things out of proportion. You're out of control. Now it's all on you. You're the one who's crazy. You're the one who's just out of your mind. And that's another narcissistic response when you want to discuss something important. Once again, it's deflecting, but this time it's going to be projecting it onto you. And instead of taking your feelings and taking them into consideration, a regular reasonable person, just to contrast this, a regular reasonable person would sit down with you, would have a conversation with you, listen to your concerns. I hear what you're saying. I understand your concerns. I can see why you would think that this would seem suspicious, but this is what's actually going on, something to that effect. But, a narcissistic person goes right after you. You're crazy. You're delusional. You're insane. They might even accuse you of being the narcissist and then, something to that effect. Number 4 is you're yelling. I can't talk to you when you're yelling. And by the way, they'll say this even if you're whispering. You could be saying, I want to talk to you about this suspicious email, or I need to talk to you about my feelings, or I want to have this conversation with you now about what's going on in our relationship and how we are struggling to communicate. Or if it's a business partner, you might say, I wanted to talk to you about the assignments, things that you had said that you were going to be accomplishing, and they haven't been done yet. Oh, you're yelling at me. I can't talk to you when you're yelling. This is not a productive conversation when you're yelling at me. And then you say, I'm not yelling at you. Nobody was yelling at you. And then they say, you were yelling. And now you get into this whole thing about who was yelling and who wasn't yelling. Then this is where you're going, because what they're doing is they're trying to make sure you don't ever get to the point. So, and if you've seen any of this so far, give me a totally in the comments. Just give me a totally in the comments. And number 5 is actually related to number 4, which is you're interrupting me, even if you didn't. So number 4 was you're yelling, even if you were whispering. And number 5 is you're interrupting me, even if you didn't. So you can say, I wasn't yelling. And like, oh yeah, you did. And then number 5 is you're interrupting me, even if you didn't. And most of the time, they're the ones who are interrupting. And you can say, but you were interrupting me. And they will insist that you interrupted them. And the whole point of all of this noise and chaos and this whole ridiculous conversation is just to make sure that you never got to the point. And then they'll start to say things like, we need to record these conversations because I can't talk to you because you're the one who lies and you're lying now. And you're lying about this conversation. And how can we ever have a conversation? Because you're lying about who was yelling first and who was interrupting, and all of that noise is meant to take away from making sure that you never get to your point in the first place, because you're trying to discuss whatever it is that you wanted to discuss, and they don't want you to ever get there, right? That's number 5. Number 6 was, there you go. We were having a perfectly wonderful, evening, a perfectly great day, and you had to go and ruin it. You had to go and bring it down with your energy or your bad vibes. You had to go and mess with it. Why do you have to go and do that all the time? Everything was great, and then you had to come along and bring us all down and bring me down, and just kind of like guilt trip you because you wanted to bring up something about what's going on, about your feelings, about whatever it is that was important to you or important to the relationship or important to even, if it's business or personal, it doesn't matter. Something that was important that needed to be discussed. Instead of addressing it, instead of allowing you to address it, they'll just say, oh, there you go, bringing something up, messing with the day, bringing us down once again, to try to make you feel bad, to try to guilt you. But then, of course, there again is something to say to not allow you to get to the point. All of these responses are meant to not allow you to get to the point, your point, not allow you to feel seen, not allow you to feel heard, to make sure that you know that you don't matter. Your feelings don't matter, okay? Because they're not equipped to feel your feelings, and they don't want to have to do that, right? So that's number 6. And number seven is no one else ever asked me these questions. No one else disrespects me this way. No one else ever interrogates me like this. No one else ever does this to me. No one else ever accuses me like this. You're the only one who ever does this. This is the no one else does this other than you syndrome. No one else, everyone else. No one else, everyone else. And that's something that you see quite a bit with the narcissistic phrases to try to make you feel like you're the one who's crazy and isolate you once again. How to respond to narcissists when they disrespect you? They're constantly trying to bait you. They're constantly trying to get you emotionally riled up, and they know exactly what to say. A lot of times you've been in a romantic relationship with them, and so they know you. They know exactly what to say, and they constantly disrespect you. It's so, so hard when they're constantly disrespecting you, and you're wondering, how can you respond to them? And first of all, why do they constantly disrespect you? Well, they do it because they don't respect themselves. They hate themselves. Remember that people treat other people in a way that is a direct reflection of the way they feel about themselves. Think about that. So you can't take things personally. And I've often said that one of my favorite books is The 4 Agreements, which is a super easy read, by the way. If you haven't ever read it, you can read it in an afternoon. And it's 4 agreements that you keep with yourself. And one of the agreements is that you never take anything personally, because the fact that people treat people the way they feel about themselves. People feel good about themselves, they treat people well. If people feel poorly about themselves, they treat people poorly. And so how they treat people poorly, they treat people, like crap, because when they do that, and they build themselves up, when they get that emotional reaction out of you, it gives them a high, it gives them a feeling of value. And so it gives them that supply, it gives them that hit. It's their drug, it's their food, it's their lifeblood, it's their oxygen, and they need an endless amount of it. It's really, really hard. I say when you're getting out of a relationship with a narcissist, you have to kind of start to pivot. You got to turn it all around, shift that dynamic, that power switch. And it doesn't happen overnight, because if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist long term, then it's baby steps. They've been conditioning you. And so you can't just go, okay, I'm going to switch it around. So I say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. You're switching that dynamic. And then you can, apply my SLAY methodology if you're negotiating with them. Strategy, leverage, anticipate, focus on you. But you can start by step 1. Step 1 is don't run. You put boundaries into place. So what's the first step? You just put some boundaries into place. One of the first phrases I love to use when narcissists are disrespecting you, or you're trying to just get them to be dispelled, to just kind of dissipate them a little bit, dissipate their anger. I love to use the phrase, I agree with you. You have to be careful, because if they're saying things like you're a horrible mother, or you're a terrible dad, or you're a deadbeat or something, you got to be careful, because you don't want to say something that's they're going to end up using it against you in court or something. You make sure that you use it in this way. I agree with you that that's what you think. So they're disrespecting you. You need to get out of it. You just want to calm them down. You just want to get yourself out of there. So I use terms like I agree with you, because they hear I agree and you're not agreeing to anything. The second one I like to use is I can see that you are upset. And I love phrases like this, because you are actually now starting to remove yourself from the situation and starting to observe it as if you are a third party. That way you can start to see them for who they are. And that really starts to help your healing. It starts to get you on the path to becoming the more powerful version of yourself. You start to remember who you are. And number 3 is very similar, where you start to say things where you're just observing them, where you say, your approach is not working for me. Again, you're pushing it back on them. Your approach, it's not working for me. You're going to have to find a different one. You are the one who's upset. You are remaining calm. You are the steady one. It's making them appear to be the one who's the crazy one. You stay steady. Number 4, again, is similar in a way. You just say, okay, and just look at them. You say nothing. You don't take their bait. You just observe. Or you could just look at them like this. It's sort of like an okay, but like that. If you understand, give me a yes in the comments so far. You understand so far? Give me a yes in the comments. Number 5, you want to engage me in conversation, you will have to remain calm, factual, and non-emotional. You're looking at them and you're saying, hey there, buddy boy or young lady or whoever it is that you're talking to. You don't have to say it like that, but you're just basically, that's your attitude. You want to engage me in conversation, you will have to remain calm, factual, and non-emotional. You just stand there. And you are the one who is calm, factual, and non-emotional. Number 6, I know that you are hurt. You can say, I know that you're angry. I know that you're upset, or whatever words you want to use, however it is that you want to describe them. But that is not a valid reason for being disrespectful. So you can look at them, you can observe whatever emotion it is that you're observing, right? So they're disrespecting you, so you can observe their emotion. Again, you observing, you remaining calm. You're looking at them like as if they're a toddler having a tantrum on the floor. Number 7, if they're just completely and utterly disrespectful, or say something that is completely and utterly like personal or just ridiculous, you can just say, I'm choosing not to respond to that. That's number 7. Number 8, I'm going to have to ask you to respect my boundaries, especially if you have set down boundaries. You've already said, I don't want you to email me at this address, or I don't want you to use this form of communication, or whatever it is that is a boundary that they've decided to cross, and that's a disrespect to you. I'm going to have to ask you to respect my boundaries, because they will totally disrespect your boundaries. The next one is, I hear you, not saying anything. You're watching them, you're looking at them and letting them have their tantrum. Just like you're watching the toddler having the tantrum on the floor. You didn't say anything. A lot of times, just by saying, I hear you, they got heard, and that's what they wanted. The last one is, if we are going to continue to communicate, I'm going to have to ask you to speak to me, or write to me, or communicate with me, whatever it is, however it is that you're communicating at that moment, in a way that is respectful. If you are talking, you obviously are saying, speak to me. If you're having a text message, or if you're having an email, whatever it is. But if we're going to continue to communicate, it's going to have to be respectful. And then if they don't continue to communicate in a way that is respectful, you have every right to not continue the communication at that time. You do not have to stand there and be disrespected. You don't. And, I've been in situations with other lawyers. I've been in situations where I've had to take it. I mean, especially, with other male lawyers or whatever. And I've straight up said, I'm not standing here having this conversation with you. We can either wait until you're ready to have a conversation with me when you can be respectful, or we can take it up with the judge or an ethics committee if we have to. Sometimes you have to stand in your power, even when you're a professional. I'm telling you that you don't have to do this regardless of who they are, even if it's a family member. And you have to find what's right for you. You have to find what's right for your own mental health and your own sake and your own sanity and your own soul. I know that it's hard, but life is hard. These are the teaching times that we are in earth school as a soul. And, I'm telling you that if you don't learn this lesson, the lesson will continue to present itself to you. I've learned the hard way, but you can do this. You can do this with help, and you can do this with support. With the support of people around you. You can definitely do hard things, that's for sure. I have a private Facebook group, a support system, which you are absolutely welcome to join. It's Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. I also do have a sponsor on this channel. If you need access to therapy, I have an online sponsor, which is BetterHelp, which you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung to access that. And we receive commissions on that. It doesn't cost you any extra. We just want you to have access to resources that we trust. And make sure that you have subscribed here and hit that notification bell as well. We want you to have access to as many free resources as you possibly can. The next video that I want you to watch is how to force a narcissist who's driving you crazy into panic mode. So if they're driving you crazy, you're ready to force them into panic mode. That's the next video I want you to watch.